How's it going, guys? Hope you're doing well. Long time no see. In this video, I want to obviously talk about heavy sounds. And this video will be dedicated to the fake drop B tuning. So what is, first of all, the drop tuning? Everybody knows, I guess, hopefully, about drop D tuning. It's when you tune your low string to D, and you can do these one finger chords. Cool. Now we can digitally, digitally down tune it even more to drop B. So a little bit of history. I know that drop D tuning started out, possibly to my knowledge, in classical music. Your nylon string classical guitar was down tuned. Then I don't know what the earliest example of drop D tuning is, but basically towards the 70s, when Black Sabbath came about, and then all this heavier stuff evolved. A lot of bands were experimenting with drop D tuning, then drop C tuning, and then drop B tuning eventually towards the early 2000s, to my knowledge. Maybe somebody down tuned to drop B earlier than that, but this is sort of the new metal sound of the 90s that culminated in this like really ridiculously low tuned guitars and basses. That's when 5-string basses were used, 6-string basses. So just like your drop D tuning, a drop B tuning is if you lower your tuning of the guitar and it becomes C sharp standard or D flat standard, and then you drop tune the low string and it becomes B. So you have a power chord. But one obvious thing, maybe not so obvious to some, is that if you expect to play in this low tuning, you need to get thicker strings. Typically, the rule of thumb is for every half a step lower, you should increase your gauge by 1. So, like Les Paul is, standard gauge for Les Paul is 10. I have 10s. To play in D standard, you would need 11s. And to play in drop B, probably like 13s or something. And every time you drop in your string gauge, you need to file the nut. Otherwise, the strings are not going to be properly aligned. So this poses a problem. Like, you don't want to modify permanently your guitar for just a couple of songs, right? Obviously. So luckily, we have a digital way of down tuning our drop D tuned guitar. I'm playing in drop D, but it comes out sounding like drop B. And one thing that is kind of a disadvantage of digitally altering your tuning is that you don't have the feedback, because the note that is produced and amplified is different from the fingered note. So it's also got these weird artifacts towards the end of the decay of the note. So let me play you some. It starts doing a little weird glitchy kind of sounds, how it doesn't know which note basically to interpret anymore. But otherwise, it really chugs very well. It does this. There's a slight delay because it needs to digitally kind of retune your guitar, but overall, does an extremely great job transposing your guitar down. And this is something that Line 6 Helix added in 3.0, the poly, Alone Keen Poly. release, and in a second I'll show you exactly what I did on my computer. But it's great. Let's take a look. Alright guys, so we're looking on my computer. This is HX Edit once again, and I want to take you through the signal chain. One thing to note is I'm using my Les Paul here, but I also tend to use my Brian May guitar, my Stratocaster, and all of them have different output levels. So I figured out kind of my Brian May guitar has much lower output even when the volume knob is all the way out, but my Les Paul, because it's got much hotter pickups, has a much hotter output. So to kind of level off my initial signal, I have a gain block. So when I play my Stratocaster, I need this gain to sort of drive my distortion and my amp. And when I'm playing my Les Paul, I actually put my volume knob on 4 using the same settings. Anyway, so just don't be confused by this gain block. This is just in order to match my main guitar, which is a authentic Brian May replica guitar, which is sort of in between my Stratocaster, my other Brian May guitar, and the Les Paul. So the first block is the Poly Capo, which I use to transpose my guitar. There are other blocks available to perform this transposition, but I did a bunch of A/B tests, and this block with these settings seems to work the best. So you dial in your interval, so it's 3 semitones down. There are different options how you want to track it, whether you want to preserve the quality over the speed. So I settle for X fast, so it tracks it really fast. There might be some kind of degradation in the sound quality, which I don't really mind. And then yeah, these are my settings. Right, so then I have my classic distortion, the same distortion that I use on my regular kind of sounds. These are my settings. And then for the amp, I decided to go with Who What. So that's that's a heavier sounding amp. It's got more kind of chug that your Fender amp does not get, and these are my settings. And then I have my typical delay. If you're curious about the kind of bubbly sound, I, as always, achieve that by cutting the initial signal. So I'm actually cleaning up my sound by removing the decibels from my initial signal. So it's taking only 3% of my initial signal. Same distortion, I have reverb, I have EQ to clean up my sound, I have this ubiquitous vibe, and this, I'm guessing by the name of it, high watt amplifier and delay. And for my lead sound, I will again use the same stuff, my EQ, my maybe wah-wah pedal, and so forth. So there you go, give it a try. I think it's an excellent kind of workaround if you don't want to permanently modify your guitar. If you're playing a bunch of cover songs and you want to possibly go really, really heavy with this Poly Capo, you can achieve that sound. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.